A new batch of asylum seekers are popping up at the US-Mexico border. Russians who are against the war in Ukraine. While US officials have let dozens of Ukrainians through this week, Russians remain in limbo, prompting some to camp out on the pavement alongside a barbed wire border fence, defying warnings from Mexican authorities to leave. One woman told Reuters she had fled Russia with her children after being arrested at an anti-war protest there, and said she burst into tears when she was rebuffed at the US border as Ukrainians were let in. Mark, a restaurant manager who came from Moscow with his wife, flying to Mexico via Turkey and Germany in early March, called it discrimination.
We have the same problem. Yeah, there isn't war in my country, but in my country there is a regime, and I was escaping from that.
He and his wife were arrested for 3 days last year after protesting in support of jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny, and said going back to Russia was not an option after new legislation that imposes up to 15 years in jail for actions found to discredit Russia's army.
We are just sitting, sleeping on the ground and wait.
The devastation in Ukraine has caused 3 million Ukrainians to become refugees, according to the United Nations, most of them in bordering countries. Some Ukrainians crossing in Tijuana have been granted permission to stay in the United States for a year. But thousands of Russians have also left their country, according to media reports. Mikhail Shlyakov said returning to Russia meant fighting in a war he opposed.
My country dangerous for me. I am young man. I have my mom original Ukraine. I have many brothers, sisters Ukraine. Now, yeah, I know my country attack, but I come back Russia. I go to army and kill my brother and sister if come back.
When asked on Thursday about Ukrainians and Russians at the border, U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said the government was helping people fleeing Ukraine and that other programs were being considered to expand humanitarian aid. Between October 2021 and January, U.S. government data showed border officials encountered about 6,400 Russians, some of whom said they were dissidents and are now in the U.S. As the Russians wait, U.S. border officials have also turned away asylum seekers from Nigeria, Colombia, Honduras, and Mexico, sparking complaints of unfair treatment.
When Iraqi-born American entrepreneur Emad Balak watched footage of war breaking out in Ukraine from his office in Iraq's northern Kurdistan region, he decided he had to act. As civilians poured out of the country, Balak, an ethnic Kurd, began a 4-day trip to Kiev, a city he has called home for over 7 years.
I have been in Ukraine for the past 6-7 years, working, making friends, getting emotionally attached to this country. And so this is why I decided to come back, to be with my friends, to try to do anything I can to help.
The 45-year-old wanted to use his businesses, including restaurants and an e-commerce company, to help Ukrainians under fire. He is mobilizing support to deliver food, basic necessities and clothing to civilians and security forces through his ventures, as well as political and business connections. After arriving in Kiev on March 8th, the entrepreneur started preparing free meals for security forces and civilians in his restaurant, while raising donations, mostly in the United States.
The restaurant is obviously closed, but the guys are trying to help. Oven is hot. Trying to prepare some meals. He's making cheese pizzas for the ladies in the military who love cheese pizzas, and special for the girls. Спасибо, Sergey. Thank you.
Using his e-commerce company, Zbox, Balak is organizing the delivery of goods to the Polish border with Ukraine, where local authorities assist with logistics to deliver aid to those in need.
Fighting means not just carrying a gun and shooting at someone. Fighting in these cases means a lot of different ways. You You can help logistically. You can help bring in donations. You can help people in need.
Unsure what the future holds, Balak said he might bring more of his businesses to Iraqi Kurdistan.
All kinds of goods that we have received.
Victor is a well-known pigeon breeder in the town of Palanca, Moldova, just an hour's drive from Odessa. And now, with a war raging at their doorstep, he and his wife not only raise these festooned birds, they also house refugees fleeing the violence over the border. Victor said his regal birds offer a chance for some serenity amid the madness.
We give psychological and moral support to our Ukrainian neighbors who face war. We have refugees, and because we have all these birds, some of them are the peace symbol, we have the satisfaction of making them forget all the burdens from home, from where they ran away. We welcome them in our courtyard with our pigeons, who make them forget the awful memories from their home country.
One of his guests, Natalia, who fled from nearby Odessa with her son, said her son could finally sleep properly after arriving at the guest house.
И остановились у Виктора и Галины, потому что здесь спокойно.
We stopped at Galina and Victor's house, where it is quiet, and we can sleep in peace. And the birds and animals are beautiful and make you forget about all worries. And my son can finally sleep soundly.
Odessa, normally an hour's drive from Palanca, is a picturesque Black Sea port that handles more than half of Ukraine's imports and exports, and is seen as a major strategic and symbolic target for Russian forces. More than 3.3 million refugees have already fled Ukraine through its western border since Russia invaded the country on February 24th.
These are the pigeons I offer to our neighboring country as a symbol of peace. We hope that everything will be over, there will be peace everywhere, and that we will never have such an experience like them.
Less than 30 minutes.
3 Russian cosmonauts arrived safely at the International Space Station on Friday and were warmly welcomed by 4 Americans, 2 Russians, and a German crewmate already aboard. But it was the color of the Russian crew's uniforms that caught the eye of Western observers. Were the brightly colored yellow and blue outfits a supportive nod to the Ukrainian flag? Russia's space agency Roscosmos on Saturday said no. On its Telegram channel, its press service said bluntly, "Sometimes yellow is just yellow." Director General Dmitry Rogozin was more acerbic on his personal Telegram channel, saying that Russian cosmonauts had no sympathy for Ukrainian nationalists. In a live-streamed news conference from the ISS on Friday, Mission Commander Oleg Artemyev was asked about the suits.
Every crew picks the suits, the overalls, on their own accord, so that they don't all look the same, but different. Now, it was our turn to pick the colour. The truth is, we had accumulated a lot of yellow material, so we needed to use it up. That's why we had to wear yellow flight suits.
Russian Mission Control responded,
Great, our congratulations. They look wonderful.
Rogozin has suggested that U.S. sanctions imposed in response to the invasion could destroy ISS teamwork and lead to the space station falling out of orbit. Russia invaded Ukraine, which has a blue and yellow flag, on February 24th. The ensuing fighting has killed thousands of people, devastated parts of cities, and caused more than 3 million Ukrainians to flee their homes, according to the United Nations. Officials at the U.S. space agency NASA have said U.S. and Russian crew members are aware of events on Earth, but that their work has not been affected by geopolitical tensions.
A toy version of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy, made by a small suburban Chicago toy company, has made a big impact to the tune of $145,000. Based in Naperville, Illinois, Citizen Brick started making unofficial Lego figurines of Zelenskiy to raise money for the Ukrainian people after the Russian invasion started last month.
We make a lot of these parts by hand.
Owner Joe Trupia says what started out as a simple fundraising idea quickly ballooned into something much bigger.
Having sold out the first batch of them kind of immediately, but to people we knew, kind of our regular customers, we kind of thought we were done with it. And then all of a sudden it started getting pings on the phone, and we saw that it was being reproduced on the Ukrainian Instagram page, which was kind of a shock. And suddenly we were getting a lot of followers from Instagram, from the Ukraine, and people messaging us, and it was just kind of overwhelming.
The Zelenskiy figurines sold for $100 each, while a Molotov cocktail figurine decorated with the Ukrainian flag went for $20. Trippier says the funds from Citizen Brick's sales will go to Direct Relief, a charity that claims to have sent over 30 tons of medical aid to Ukraine.
We've had a lot of contact from people in Ukraine, which is surprising, that they have the time and the kind of mind to contact us and say thanks, which is very humbling. And that we keep that in front of our minds when we're trying to do something like this.
Russia has defended its military activity in Ukraine as a special operation aimed at demilitarizing and denazifying its neighbor.